Hi, Scott here from Furness College, and today we're going to learn how to calculate a length of pipe that we're going to cut from a centerline dimension when using threaded fittings. Okay, before we start, there's a few things that we have to know, and that is whenever you get a dimension on your engineering drawing, you must know where that dimension comes from and goes to. So, if you have a piece of pipe and you're looking at it end on, okay, you must know that that measurement comes from the centre of that piece of pipe to the centre of the other piece of pipe. So in this instance, if we take this measurement of 300, the centre of that piece of pipe to the centre of that piece of pipe is 300. There's a very good reason for this. It's because it's the only dimension that never changes when the pipe sizes change. So if I made this piece of pipe, for instance, larger, the centre line is still in the same place. If I made this one smaller, the centre line is still in the same place. Okay, so you must remember that before we move on to the next part. If it's finishing from an elbow from the piece of pipe and it's terminating at a flange, then the measurement will come from the flange face. Okay, so it's still from the centre of the pipe, the centre of the fitting, but it's to the flange face in this instance. Okay, so regardless of what that measurement is, it's either from the centre of the pipe to the centre of the pipe, or from the centre of the pipe to the flange face. So firstly, if we number our pipes, 1, 2, 3 and 4, this is to help us later on. If you cut pipe number 2, 500mm long, threaded both ends, screwed it into the fitting, when you came to measure the centerline dimension, it would be wrong. It would be too long. Okay, and the reason it would be too long is if I cut that pipe 500mm and it went all the way to its centerline, and this piece of pipe was cut to 300mm and it was screwed in all the way to its centerline, the pipes would clash here. So the pipes must be cut shorter than the measurement that's given to you on the engineering drawing. The pipes will be cut short and threaded and only screwed in a certain distance. It stops short of the centre line by that distance. Now this distance here has various names. George Fisher, the people who make the threaded fittings, call it a Z dimension. Yorkshire Fittings, who make the soldered fittings, call it an X dimension. I got taught in my apprenticeship that it was called a fitting allowance. It doesn't particularly matter what you call it as long as you know that they are all the same thing. Okay, so the question is, how big is that fitting allowance? So if we are to work out this fitting allowance, the first thing we need to know is the size of pipe we are working with. So if I say, for instance, with this that we are using 15mm nominal bore pipe. Okay, so we then go to the chart from George Fisher, we look at the size of the pipe that we need, and we go across to the Z dimension column, and you will see that it gives us a dimension of 15mm. Okay, we would have to do the same for the elbow. And when we look at the chart again, we will see that for a 15mm nominal bore elbow, our Z dimension is also 15mm. So if we rub that out and we threaded it and we screw it into our fitting, that measurement is also 15. Once we have worked out what our fitting allowances are, we add them together and we subtract them from the centerline dimension. So 15 and 15 added together is 30. 30 subtracted from 500 is 470mm. So pipe number 2 and 4 will be 470mm long. Pipes 1 and 3 the centerline dimension is 300 millimeters long. So we know that the Z dimension for elbows is 15 mil. So if we add the 15 mil for that fitting, the 15 mil for that fitting together and subtract them from the 300, that gives us the dimension of 270 millimeters. Okay, so once we have drawn up our cutting list, we would then take that cutting list to the saw, cut all our pipes at once.